fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery.
You are back in the House of Mystery, and we continue our conversations with authors that have contributed to the anthology. It's a Superior Shores Anthology, and it's book 4 of anthologies, and it's called Larceny Last Chances, and it's 22 stories of mystery and suspense. Joining us, we've got GinaXGrant, so thank you for being here.
Nice to be here.
So, Gina, it looks like your story that you contributed is called The Case of the Pilfered Parka. So let's talk about the premise of that. What's the storyline?
Well, it was actually based on real events. These sort of happened to a friend of a friend. In this case, it was happened to a friend of my niece. And I added some additional mystery and some humor and a romance. So it became a full short story.
And so where do you get the inspiration for that? I mean, obviously it's from a real thing, but where do you get the inspiration to actually put it down on paper and write? Like, are you a natural born writer?
Oh, I'm a multi-published writer, yes. And I have recently switched to the mystery genre. I had been writing action, adventure, and romance and various other things, and fantasy, but now I'm writing mystery. So as soon as my niece told me the story, I thought, this is great. I'm going to write this.
When you were doing your story and stuff, did you have a point to it? Is there a subtext or a meaning behind your story?
Good question. It was just the real life events where someone was ripped off and they took the law into their own hands and cleverly solved the problem. So I thought, for anyone else that has had this experience, here's a solution.
So what did you get out of writing this story? What do you think it did for you?
I write humor. I mentioned earlier I write all different genres, but the tie that binds them all together is humor. So I think it's not really a laugh out loud story, but it's entertaining on a lot of levels, and I think it might make people smile. And there's also a mystery.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with the timing when you get humor in a mystery, right? You got to have the right timing.
I like to think so. I like to think I'm funny in real life, so it sort of comes naturally to me.
Do you hear your characters? Do you have an inner monologue? Is that how you write dialogue, or is there some other way?
I do now. It was a struggle to come to that. It used to be all the characters sounded exactly like me, and you could tell by the reviews that people thought that. But now I do hear them in my head, and I notice when I write men, they sound quite different than women. I think that I've come a long way in writing, and one of the things that helped me learn to hear characters in my head was I've listened almost exclusively to audiobooks for the last 3 or 4 years, rather than reading text anymore.
I've done that too, but that's only because I'm old. So are you picturing it then too? Like Gina, when you say you hear it, do you actually create an image of your character as well? Is that possible for you?
I absolutely do. Sometimes it's difficult to describe. I might even act something out. He leaned forward. He waved at the TV. Now, how do I put that efficiently in one sentence? Because I don't want to spend too much time on it. I remember back when I was writing more colorful stuff, when erotic romance was the thing to be writing. That was interesting to visualize and describe.
And it's going to be a lot tougher. With doing it in a short story, I always wonder, because I've never done a short story myself. So when you do a full novel or book, you have a lot of room to, describe the history and the characters and the life and the reason why they do things that they do. It's easier to describe that and get the reader to know that. But in a short story, you've got a lot less room to do that. So you've got to choose your words wisely. If you have a secret, come on, you got to tell me so I know how to write this.
Well, actually, I stopped writing about 5 years ago and eventually said, I'm never going to write again. But I ended up joining a writer's group where every week we got a prompt and we wrote a story of about 1,200 words. And that made me fall back in love with writing to the point where I'm now writing novels again. But I'm finding it's very successful to treat every chapter as a short story, a beginning, a middle, and end, a twist, a hook. And so I think it's making my books much better than they were, because now I write every chapter as a short story.
Yeah, I would think that's true, right? Because, a big key thing is to have people wanting to keep turning the page and keep going to the next part of it, not get bored. So you always have something going on. And that's a good way to going chapter to chapter, because then you don't want to go to bed. You want to see what happens next.
I'm actually working now on what they call a limited series. These are apparently what work best on Amazon these days. So it's 5 books, and I'm writing them all before I publish them. So that gives me a lot of room to get into detail, and yet I do still find exactly the same. I want to be efficient. I want to convey in the shortest words. I want to be colorful, but not overly wordy.
Do your characters surprise you as you go through your stories and novels?
They absolutely do. I tend to be big on plotting the book, but pantsing the scenes, if you're familiar with the term pantsing, as in writing by the seat of your pants. So I know what the scene's supposed to accomplish, but I don't know how it's going to get there. I have no idea how it's going to go.
Geez, I never write with pants on. Come on, they just get in the way. Violence and the hard scenes, or the things like that. When we talk about what do you do with the violence and the dark characters in your book?
I have written dark scenes, but they're really not my style. They almost are. Well, I tend to try and go for a balance of comedy and drama, but by and large, even in my murders and my dark scenes, I have a lot of humor. People fall down and the syringe full of poison goes in the wrong place, and that sort of thing.
Okay, so let's talk. Now, Gina, do you have social media, website, all that? How do you like readers to follow you?
I have just got a new website up and running at GinaXGrant.com, and you can click on the button and sign up for my newsletter. I have not sent any newsletters out yet. I just jumped on this as a new social media way to reach my readers, but I will be providing short stories and humorous anecdotes. And I also I'm big on Facebook. I'm not active on Instagram or Twitter X, but I'm on Facebook.
Well, fantastic. Of course, now we're going to have the book up on our page, and we appreciate you being here. So thanks very much.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having us on this show. I really enjoyed being here.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.